Hi, welcome to week 11. This week we're looking at running Spark applications and monitoring their execution. In particular, you should understand the difference between interactive development and running a batch program. You should be able to decide when to use a batch program, how you will monitor the progress of your application, and use that monitoring to identify resource issues. We'll also look at some strategies to optimize performance. So a lot of this discussion is based around the fact that Spark is cluster based. That is, it is not like Pandas, which executes on a single machine. The idea is that we can use multiple computers to tackle big data problems. Multiple computers we call clusters, and there are particular cluster managers around which will allow you to coordinate computers, things like Mesos and Yarn. There is also a standalone mode where you can manually configure one or more computers in your own cluster. We will be using the standalone mode. When you go into Databricks, you'll see that we usually have one driver computer and multiple workers. These can be distributed over multiple machines. And this is a big point about the Spark architecture. Even though we're using a single machine for testing, actual execution should be equivalent over the cluster. And this, rather than being a performance issue, i.e. running multiple machines isn't necessarily faster, it will allow you to use much larger data sets. When we're developing, we use interactive mode. So we've been using Jupyter notebooks. They allow you to execute lines of PySpark at a time. In batch mode, we have a complete program and we execute it from start to finish. We'll be looking at how you do that in relation to the cluster. So interactive computing is our primary mode of development on the module. Very interactive. We execute a cell at a time. We're using small test data sets, and it allows us to rapidly go through testing and debugging. Once applications start to take a while, and let's suppose you have some cell which takes an hour or so to run, you don't want to be running that single cell, coming back later on to run the next cell and the next cell and so on. So you want to be able to start your application, monitor from somewhere its execution, and this allows you to control long running sessions. So in batch mode, a complete program is run. I should also point out that with Jupyter notebooks, we do have a sequence issue. It's not uncommon people to work through the notebook, change some variable value later on, go back to an earlier cell, re-execute that, get the answer they wanted. But when someone comes to execute their notebook from start to finish, because their trial environment was out of sequence, that is, they've executed some later cell, gone back to an earlier one, they can't repeat their execution. So batch mode runs the whole program from start to finish, and that's how essentially you're going to be submitting your assessment to be run in batch mode. So just to sum up, interactive development's great. It's not ideal for long running sessions. And of course, the more data we have, the longer the session will. Batch mode is essentially running without an operator or a program. You don't require a person to execute each step, But the negative, of course, is if something goes wrong, you have to go and edit things and restart from the beginning. So you don't want to be running in your batches before the application is fully developed. But it's most appropriate for time-consuming tasks because you can start it off, go away and do something different, and then come and look at the output.